Hello everyone, it's Molly here again for another video outside in the backyard. As always, that means you're going to be hearing lots of sounds. So, sorry. Nothing I can do about it. So as you can see from the title of today's video, it's another kind of dating as a blind person related video. I'll link my Everything Boyfriend playlist down below. I have like a lot of dating kind of videos in that playlist, and I'll specifically link my blind dating with disabilities video down below. I don't know if I really touched on this much in that video, but anyways, whatever. I feel like I need to explain what I'm talking about. So as you can see from the title, today I'm talking about disclosing my disability to guys on Tinder. Now, online dating, which is what I would consider Tinder, app dating, online dating, same thing. Tinder, as I did mention in that blind dating video, is actually voiceover accessible. Bumble, which is a similar dating app, is not. So the only dating app I have found that is accessible with voiceover, that I can totally do everything on my own, is Tinder. Obviously, I can't see what the guys look like in their photos, but I can read their names, I can read their bios, their education info, I can scroll down to see which mutual friends we have, I can see what our mutual interests are, all of that stuff. VoiceOver will read once you match with them, which again, you can do all the swiping and stuff on your own. Once you match with them, all the conversation application part is totally doable on your own. Setting up your own profile is totally doable on your own, so totally voiceover accessible. You're just not going to be able to see people's photos, which in some ways is kind of a benefit. Sometimes I'll like use Tinder with my mom or with my friends, and they'll describe the guy's photos and they'll be like, yeah, he looks like your kind of guy, or no, or whatever. But sometimes I'll just honestly like get on and go and do it by myself and base it off of their bio, their education info, our interests, and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of fun. I've had great luck personally with Tinder. I've gone on lots of awesome dates with really amazing people. What I like about being able to date through an app is, as somebody who's super busy traveling with work all the time, number one, I don't really have time to meet people in person. Like, I just don't have that lifestyle. I don't go to university where I could meet people in class or at parties. I don't work in an office where I could run into people. Like, there isn't an easy way for me to meet guys. And so what I like about meeting through an app is it gives me the chance to talk to the guy, get to know him for a bit, and then decide, do I want to take the time out of my busy schedule to go on a coffee date with this guy, or will I just unmatch and say, nope, this one's not for me? So I like having that ability, which is why I do enjoy online dating, which is funny because prior to my breakup in September, I would have said no, I would never online date. And I think there's still a big stigma around online dating and around app dating, that it is slowly changing, but there is definitely still a big stigma. And I think that's part of the reason why I said I would never want to online date. I kind of thought about the stereotypes that I'd heard about online dating and all of that kind of stuff. But I do think apps like Bumble and Tinder have been in some ways helping to change that and bringing online dating to a younger generation in a more accessible way. But of course there's still, stigma around, oh, it's just a hookup app. But honestly, yes, I've run into guys who are just after that, and that, for me it's just an unmatched. That's not personally what I'm looking for in my life. But I've also met plenty of guys who are not looking for that and who want a relationship or who want to date and meet new people. So I've had a positive experience for the most part with Tinder. But like I said, I would have prior to this said no, I would never try online dating. And things have changed in my life, and I did decide to give it a chance, and I've been doing it for a few months now. I haven't been on Tinder, now that I'm saying this, in probably like 6 weeks. But all that aside, and again, prior to joining Tinder and making my profile, I would have said I would never online date. And if I did online date, I would have my disability in my profile. Like, I would make it totally clear, and that way, I wouldn't waste my time. No guys would approach me that were turned off by that. It's kind of, as I mentioned in my Dating with Disabilities video, it's kind of like a jerk filter You know, they're just not going to approach me, and that's cool. I don't have to waste my time with them. That's how I originally viewed it. But when I joined Tinder, I actually set up my profile. I put my, 5 or 6 photos in, and a couple are with Gallup. Some of which his harness is like slightly visible, but not entirely visible. And yeah, so for the most part, like, I don't think you would look at my photos and the ones that have Gallup in it and say, oh, that's her service dog. But I mean, I guess you could. Like I said, it's not like I'm totally hiding. It's not like I've only taken photos where he doesn't have a harness on or anything like that. But yeah, I just don't think most guys would scroll through the 6 photos and see the 2 that have my dog in it and look directly into the harness kind of situation. And my bio, when I was writing my bio, knowing that Tinder does give you quite a bit of space, but I personally don't like guys with super lengthy bios. I like it to be like 3 good sentences. I don't like guys who write like a huge paragraph, and I don't like guys who write none. If you've written nothing about yourself on Tinder, I'm not swiping right. You're getting a definite left swipe. But I like a guy who has about 3 sentences, so given that's what I like in a profile, that's what I chose to write. And I was thinking, if I'm writing 3 sentences about myself, if they're looking at 6 photos, 5 or 6 photos, and they get 3 sentences about me and maybe what I do for a living or my educational background, I don't want one of those 3 sentences to be taken up with I'm disabled or I'm blind. Because there's so many other things about me that I feel like are more important to share with a guy when he's looking at my profile and reading my bio and deciding if he wants to swipe left or right. And so I tried to memorize my bio before I came out to film this because I wanted to make sure I could tell you what it says. So my bio says something like petite, which I am. I always feel the need to tell people that I'm petite so that if they ever meet me, they're not shocked when they see that I'm actually the size of an 11-year-old child. So for me, I like when a guy says his height. I'm sorry, I'm going off on another tangent, but I like when a guy says his height. Like if he says 5'6", 5'6", totally cool. I love short guys. But if he says 6'5", that's gonna be a struggle for me. I'm 4'10.5". Like that's just like, for me, the height difference is a little bit too uncomfortable. So if I see a guy, even if I'll most likely swipe left if it says he's like 6'5" or 6'4". And so for that reason, I always say that I'm petite because I want them to be aware if they're 6'5" and they don't like really short girls, that they know, heads up, I'm petite. So anyways, that's why I have petite written. So it says petite, creative, outgoing, entrepreneur. I like to meet new people, try new foods, go on adventures, and have fun. But if you don't like my dog, I don't like you. And so for me, having that last part is kind of like my way of kind of like having a little bit of jokey fun, but also referencing or like planting a little bit of a seed of just how important my dog is to me. And yeah, that's all my bio says about me. And so when it comes to disclosing my disability, that has to come within the conversation. Now, I want to kind of share a few more reasons why, after giving it some consideration, I chose not to put my disability in my bio. So number 1, like I said, I feel like there's a lot more things that should come before my disability. There's a lot more things that are important to know about me that aren't just, I have a disability. And number 2, and probably I would say more importantly, I don't want somebody deciding to swipe left, so saying no to me, or to swipe right, saying yes to me because of my disability. So a lot of you would probably understand that yes, there's going to be people who would say no to you based on your disability. And at the end of the day, if they would originally say no to me based on the disability, most likely once we start talking and I tell them, they'll also unmatch me. But the other thing is, more importantly, I don't want them saying yes because of my disability. And a lot of you who don't have disabilities are probably like, why would any guy say yes to you because of your disability? Well, friends, I'm sure a lot of you other disabled people will understand where I'm coming from with this. There's a few reasons. Number 1, this is a little awkward, but there is such thing as disability fetish, and I don't want to be your fantasy. That's not my goal. I don't want you exploiting my disability for your personal pleasure or gain. So I personally don't want a guy to see that and be like, oh, she's disabled, that's my fantasy, or that's what I'm into, that's what I'm interested in, and swipe right for that reason. And the other issue is a very serious issue. A lot of guys, I don't know how to really explain this well, but a lot of guys who tend to be controlling, manipulative, and abusive, unfortunately like to target people with disabilities. And it's because they would view us having disabilities as more vulnerable, as being weaker, less than in some way, and they would view our disability as something that would make it even easier to control us, as something that would cause us to need to rely on them for things more than an able-bodied girl. And so for that reason, I don't want to attract any of those kind of guys. I don't want them seeing, oh, she has a disability, I'm going to be able to control and manipulate and abuse her easier. And so, to be blunt, that's why I don't want guys swiping yes or no because of my disability. I don't think that should be a deciding factor up front. And it's for my own personal protection and safety, and it's for me to feel comfortable that when I know a guy and I have matched and we start a conversation, they don't have any ulterior motive than they would with any other girl, other than to just talk to me and get to know me. So that's why. And so then it comes down to, well, how do I tell them? And for me, personally, what I choose to do is typically I will tell them within the first half hour of back and forth conversation. And it's not something I want to like hide for a week and then like, you know, I'm not trying to deceive anybody. That is certainly not my goal by not disclosing it up front in my bio. I'm never trying to deceive a guy. I am simply trying to protect myself and be as safe as I can when it comes to online dating. And so for that reason, like I said, I usually tell them within the first half hour of back and forth conversation, so it is up front. I'm not talking to you for a week and then being like, oh, hey, by the way, and I'm certainly never going to plan to go on a date with you and then show up with my guide dog and be like, hey. So some guys, I'm sure if you're on Tinder or online dating, you'll know some guys, like, you'll talk for 2 minutes back and forth, then you won't hear from him for a day, then he'll talk to you again for a little bit, and then you won't hear from him for 5 hours. So for me to tell a guy, it's usually back and forth for about half an hour, 20 minutes, and then I'll tell them. So it has to be a fluid back and forth conversation, not like a stagnant conversation, if that makes sense. And it's kind of actually like a fun game for myself to figure out, like, how am I going to casually drop this into a conversation? So I always find a way to work it into the conversation naturally. And if the conversation we're having doesn't feel like it will lend itself to me disclosing it in a natural way, then I'll try to bring up something fun like, okay, I want to get to know you better. Tell me three random facts about you. So they'll tell me 3 random facts and they'll be like, how about you? And then I'll respond, and one of my facts will be I actually lost my vision when I was 14 years old. And then, after I've said that, I always make sure to follow that up with, whether I've disclosed it in that way or any other natural way within a conversation, I always make sure to follow it up with, please, I want you to know that I'm super open about my disability. It's something I talk about very openly as part of my career. I love to educate people. If you have any questions, I would rather you ask and know the facts than assume and be wrong. I'm very comfortable and very open and confident with my disability, so, you know, go ahead, shoot, ask me whatever you want. Typically, the first thing they'll say is like, oh wow, I would have never known, thank you so much for telling me. And usually the first question is, how do you use Tinder? Which is a totally fair question because for a sighted person, it's totally an image-based, site-based app. And in general, a lot of sighted people don't know how blind people use technology. So that's typically the first question, and then the conversation goes from there. I've had very positive reactions, I've had very neutral reactions, and I've had really negative reactions. And I'm open to all of those reactions, and I think, you know, all of those reactions are fair. So I just kind of wanted to make this video and share with you my perspective on online dating as somebody with a disability, my experiences with it. If you guys would want to hear stories about responses that I've gotten from guys or conversations that have occurred because of it, let me know. I can do a whole video, and I actually have a very, very exciting special video coming up when I'm in California about a Tinder-inspired incident. So definitely be looking out for that, because I cannot wait to share that story with you guys. It is some kind of story. So thank you guys for joining me for another video. I would love to hear from you guys. If you have a disability and you online date, what has your experience been like? What forums do you use for online dating? Do you use, Match.com? Do you use Plenty of Fish? Do you use Bumble, Tinder? What's been your experience? Do you put your disability right out there up front on your profile? And if so, why did you choose to do that? Do you do it like me, where it's not something you disclose up front, but you make sure to disclose it very early on within a conversation? Or is it something that you don't disclose for quite some time? I would love to hear what your responses have been, your experiences have been, and even if you're sighted, how do you view online dating? What are your feelings about it? What do you think is important to put in your bio? What do you want guys or girls to know about you up front when you're online dating? I'd love to have some fun conversation down below. Oh, now I totally feel like I forgot one of my points, so I'm just gonna shove it in here at the end. Sorry. I also feel like when it comes to disclosing my disability, I like them to have a bit of a conversation with me ahead of time, like I said, a 20 to 30 minute conversation of back and forth, so that they get to know at least a little bit of my personality, and they get to see a little bit of who I am and how I talk and what I like and my interests and how I'm going to interact with you as a person, before knowing, oh hey, there's also this other thing, I'm blind. Because it's nice for them to get to know a bit of my personality, and that's something you can't necessarily see from pictures and a bio like you can when you're having a back and forth conversation. So that aside, I know, just shoving that in at the end here. So that's all for this video. Thumbs it up if you enjoyed, subscribe to join the family for more videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye!